of J.E. Rogers' little pamphlet, which was published in 1965, Five Negro Presidents. I'm surprised, I'm shocked at the number of our folks that have never heard of this book, let alone read it. And it's 18 pages. It's 18 pages. The title of the book, the working title of the book is Five Negro Presidents According to What White People Say They Were, by J.A. Rogers, and was published in 1965. The five Negro presidents were Thomas Jefferson, third president of the United States, who served 2 terms from 1801 to 1809. The second black president was Andrew Jackson, the 7th president of the United States, who also served 2 terms from 1825 to 1837. The third Negro president was Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president of the United States, who served from 1861 until 1865 when he was assassinated, going into his 2nd term. The 4th Negro president was Warren G. Harding, the 29th president of the United States, who served from 1929 to 1923 when he died of food poisoning. And on the cover of this book is Warren G. Harding and a photograph of his grandfather, his black grandfather. Okay? And the 5th Negro president was not listed in the book. He made reference to him, but he wasn't listed because he was still alive. But that president was Dwight D. Eisenhower. And I don't know how many of you all are familiar with Dr. Edward Nichols, who's a psychologist from Washington, D.C. But when I first met Dr. Nichols, he talked about the fact that after Kennedy was elected president, Life magazine did an expose, cover story on all of the living presidents of the United States. And they had on the cover a photograph of Dwight D. Eisenhower as a child and his mother. And his mother was black. His mother was a mulatto, all right? And so that was on the cover of Look magazine. It was on newsstands all throughout the country. Somebody saw that cover, made a telephone call, and in 24 hours, every single magazine was taken off the newsstand and was placed with a different cover. All right? Now, all 5 of these men were black, according to the 1-drop rule. You know, they were either quadroons or octoroons. This term was popularized by Thomas Jefferson in his book, Notes on the State of Virginia. And according to him, 1 drop of black blood made a white man black. Now that's black power if I ever heard it. 1 drop makes you me. All right? And so because of the fact that these men were living in a racist country, and they were light enough to pass, they passed. They passed. And they became president of the United States. There's a whole lot of black folk who are passing. That's right. Oh, yeah. Did you all know that J. Edgar Hoover is passing? The Hoover family? The Hoover family are Negro who have passed for white. And it's something about the hatred of self that we have that causes us to aggress against our own even when we're passing. So it helps you understand Hoover's hatred for Dr. King because of who Hoover was, not who King was. All right? So we've got to look at these issues. So if Barack Obama is elected president, we will have to understand that he is a mulatto. All right? And thus, he would be the first phenotypically identifiable black president of the United States. So the question is that we have to raise, as everyone is talking about, Barack Obama could potentially be the first black president. Why are we talking about this history? This is a great opportunity to educate our own and maybe white America in the process. This is an opportunity that we should not be passing by. every child in every classroom should have a copy of this book so that this could be discussed. This is a hot topic. The important thing about understanding the significance of moments in time. Certain moments in time are pregnant with possibility. And so you have to be able to recognize those moments and impregnate those moments with the possibilities of changing the world. This is one of those moments. So we have to look at ourselves. What are we doing to capitalize on these moments? These are opportunities that you must first recognize as opportunities, and then have the knowledge to know what to do to take advantage of this opportune moment. You can't just sit back and complain because you don't like what's going on. There's something that you can do. Anybody can complain. Matter of fact, that's the easiest thing in the world to do, to sit on your butt and talk about somebody who is doing something. Issue is, what are you doing? What are we doing to take advantage of these moments? And so, one of the reasons why we aren't talking about these issues is because we don't know our history. We don't know our history, and we don't know that we don't know our history. Talk about we're black folks, but we don't even know our history from 40 years ago, let alone 100 years ago. And there's no excuse for that. There's no excuse whatsoever for us to be as ignorant as we are. And as Alton was saying, the reason why we talk so crazy is because most of us are ignorant. We're not illiterate because we can read. We're illiterate because we don't read. If you have the capacity to read and to internalize what you've read, it will dramatically change the quality of your thinking and the quality of your conversation. That's something that we can do. That's something that we have control over. So, I want us to understand that we cannot expect our former enslavers to teach us our history. That's not going to happen. That's not their job. That's our responsibility, to educate ourselves, to educate our children, to educate the children on our block, to spend some time talking to them, reading to them, helping them begin to understand this process called life so that they can make better choices. I'd like for you all to do something for me. I'd like for you to close your eyes for me. Close your eyes. And I want you to use your imagination. And I want you to imagine the front page of your local newspaper on Wednesday, November the 5th. And I want you to look at that headline. Obama wins the election. Now, how does that make you feel? Looking at that, how does that make you feel? Internally, deep inside. Now, there's a passage in the book when Barack first came to Chicago, he went to a barbershop to get a feel for get a pulse of the community. And this is shortly after Harold Washington had been elected mayor of Chicago. And the brothers were talking about how Harold Washington, being elected president, just so profoundly impacted every black person in America. He said it was just like when Joe Louis beat Max Miller. Everybody was excited. Everybody was rooting for him because it was the first time that we got control. Now, granted, there were some folks who had some issues with Harold Washington because politics, politics is a dirty game. And if you're in the game, you got to play dirty. I mean, there's no question about it. But Harold knew how to work that game, knew how to work it enough in order to win that election. He didn't do everything to change, but he did make some profound changes. And changes come with time. You need opportunities and time. I want you to imagine that if Obama is elected president, or I saw Dr. Fukuyama. You all familiar with Dr. Fukuyama? Yes. He was in Washington last month to do a lecture. And when he walked in the door, he was wearing an Obama pin. And I said to him, it's obvious who your candidate for president is. And he looked at me with all seriousness because Dr. Fukuyama was a very serious brother, deep brother, very serious brother. And he said, the ancestors have said that Obama is going to win. So he was dealing with this situation from a totally different perspective than I was. The ancestors said that he is the right man for the job at this particular point in time in history. I want us to understand how just on a psychological level, how Barack will affect everybody in this country, not just black folks, but everybody in this country. Do you realize that his